This is Gemara and Eruvin Daf Nun Gimel. Of course, all the learning this week is sponsored as a chus for Shlema for Andechayana, Braindel Chana, Bas Esther, as well as chus Ilu Nishmasa, Shim Yudaleib, Ben Chaim, is Neshama Shehav an Aliyah. Of course, all our Chedim Yidimir, Ben Ikir, Menev, Ben Chayim, Ramram Chanita, Chaim Bas Ben Sar, Shlom Sibin Ezidol Sar, Bas Yinadi, Bas Yim, Chaisar, Yischaim, Sarasta, Yishayel, Ben Mendel, Yad the President, Shavlei, Shlomim Bas Naami, Shavigim, Shirchana. Just a reminder, there was a little bit of an audio issue 2 days ago. Again, if there's ever an issue, just a reminder that unfortunately Torah Time sometimes takes a few extra moments to fix it. The YouTube, the podcast, fix it faster. And of course, if anyone wants to send me their email address, I usually try to quickly send out the corrected audio and an update in case anyone would like to be part of that email group. We keep it just to Daf updates. Let's pick up the new parak, the 5th parak of Eruvin, as we begin the Mishnah. Nun Beis and Beis. Keitzad ma'abrin es arin. So we want to know, how do you measure a city when you want to figure out the tchum? This word ma'abrin, the Rashi right here points out, comes from the word of ubra, from word of a woman that is pregnant, and the Gemara is going to explain exactly what that means. So how do you measure the city when you want to figure out the tchum, which is 2,000 amos outside of the city boundaries? How do you make the boundaries? Let's say there's a house. It's not a perfect line, the boundary of the city. A house goes in, a house goes out. Or pagam nechnas, pagam yaitze, a tower of the city goes in and goes out. Hayisham gedudiyais. Or there are ruins, there are broken down buildings. Gavayis asar tfachim, which are 10 tfachim tall. So how do you measure all these things when you want to measure the boundary, the borders of the city? Moving along to Negimel Aman Aleph, Ugisharim, or if you have bridges, Unafashais, or if you have these tomb buildings, which are buildings on top of Kvarim, Sheishem Beis Dira, that's where the watchman used to live. Moitzianes Amida Kinegdon. You draw the line opposite them. Just to give a little bit of a taste, what the Gemara is going to explain is we're going to be squaring in the city. If a house juts out, tower juts out, we're always going to square in the city. And Mir Tashem, the Gemara is going to explain exactly how to do it. So he says, you make like a square tablet, so you gain the corners. You don't go in and out, you just square it all off, and you gain a little bit. Says the Gemara, this lashon of ma'abrin, what does that come from? Says the Gemara, Ravu Shmuel, 4 lines down, chatani ma'abrin, v'chatani ma'avrin. One learns with an ayin, one learns with an aleph. Mandatani ma'avrin with an aleph, like the word aver, like the word of a limb, a hand, a limb. Aver. Different limbs, different parts of the city jutting out. Mandatani ma'abrin, the one that said ma'abrin with an ayin, kisha obra, like a woman that is pregnant. Meaning that, again, this the part sticking out, a part's not sticking out. That is the machlekes, what the wording of the Mishnah should be. Mar is the machleila. Now we're going to bring down a bunch of machlekes in wording between Rav and Shmuel. Says the Gemara, Mar is machleila, Rav Shmuel charamar shnei batim zelef nemizeh. That it's one house, one tomb within another tomb. As you see down here in Rashi draws a picture for us of bayis chitzay, bayis pinimi, one house inside the other one. And the charamar. And the other mandamar holds Bayis Vali al Gabov is a house with another house on top of it, an attic on top of it. Says the Gemara, Bish, some of the mandamar Zel Gav Zets, one house, one tomb on top of another tomb, Mars Machmela. Haina Machmela. That's, I understand that's a double. It's one on top of another. That's a form of doubling. What's the doubling? It's not double, it's just an inner room. Answers the Gemara, Shekfula Big Zugais. It's doubled with Zugais, the pairs that are buried there. That is the doubling. Mamre Kiryas Arba, and now we darshan up the pasuk. What does it mean that it was buried in the plot in Arba? Says the Gemara, Arba referring to 4. Says the Gemara, Amar Yitzchak Kiryas Arba Zugos. It was the plot. It was the burial place of the city of the 4 couples. Adam Chava, Avram V'Sara, Yitzchak V'Rivka, Yaakov Ve'Leah. Now, once we're discussing Baruch Mapil, the Gemara darshins other parts of the psukim over there. Even me, Amrafel, and it wasn't the deeds of Amrafel. And now Rav and Shmuel are going to debate what was Amrafel. Rav and Shmuel, Chanamar Nimrod Shemai. Really, who is this Amrafel character? Really, his name is Nimrod. Why do we call him Amrafel? Shamar V'Hibel Avram Avinu V'Sach Kliv Shaneish, because he threw Avram Avinu into the fiery furnace. That's the Amrafel of Omar and Hebel, that he took Avram Avinu and threw him into the fire. Chana Omar, really the opposite. Amrafel Shemai, his name was Amrafel. Shemai Nimrod. So why do we call him Nimrod? Shehimrin es kol elam kulai that he rebelled against the whole world, that he had the whole world underneath, the opposite, that he led the whole world in rebellion against Malchusai, referring to his own Malchus, but of course, which is euphemistic, an opposite referring to Hashem. Says the Gemara, continuing the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. What does it mean that a new king came on Mitzrayim? Rav Shmuel Chadamar Chodesh Mamish, he was a new king. Chadamar Shenis Chadshim Gzeireisav wasn't a new king, he was a new Gzeireis man. Damar Chodesh Mamish, Chsev Chodesh, Paul says Chodesh, if it's very well. Madam Shenis Chadshim Gzeireis, if it was a new Gzeireis, Midolek say Vayomas Vayimloich. Doesn't say that the king died. Vayimloich, rather it says that he just was a new king that was serving. Since it doesn't say Vayamas, Vayimloch, right? It doesn't say that he died and a new king served. Therefore, he says he just was the same king, just new Gzeiris. Of course, the second Mandamar, that this Paroi just a new decrees. It says he didn't know Yosef. What does that mean? That's Yosef. Says the Gemara, 2 lines, this is the white lines, that he made it as if he did not know Yosef at all, but again, it really was the same king. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yochanan, 3 lines down, 18 days I grew up, I lived, I dwelt amongst Rav Ishia in a place called Rivi. I learned one thing, Mishnah Seinu, that the wording of our Mishnah is supposed to be Ba'abrin with an aleph, meaning a limb. Says the Gemara, is that true that he only learned one thing? He had 12 Talmidim. And 18 days he lived there. He learned from him. And he learned from him. And he learned each and every Talmud. And the wisdom of each Talmud. Says the Gemara, Gamara, loy, Gamar. True, I'm sorry. Let's read that one more time. You're right that he learned the heart of every Talmud. I learned the wisdom of every Talmud. However, Gemara, like Gamar, he didn't learn any traditions, didn't learn any Gemara teachings. Sorry for this one teaching that the wording in our Mishnah should be Ma'abrin with an ayin. Ibai same another answer. Minayu didu Gamar. He himself, they learned a lot. Minei didei lo Gamar. However, he did not learn anything for Rav Ishia, meaning the Talmidim learned a lot, but he himself only learned this one teaching. That's the second shot. A third shot, he meant in our Mishnah, that was one thing that he learned. Of course, as everyone can anticipate, as we're in the Agadata mode over here, the Gemara is going to keep on going off and off tangents, more and more Agadatas. Take us the whole daf today, the whole daf tomorrow. When they would learn by Rabbi Ishia, they would learn 4 Talmidim in one Amma. They would all cram together to hear the words of Rabbi Ishia. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi, when we learn by Rav Lezben Shamua, we used to have 6 Talmidim in one Amma, which the Marsha says that's pretty impossible. It must be use of Nes to have 6 people in one Amma. An Amma is what, 1.5 foot, 6 Talmidim. It's pretty incredible. Must be use of Nes. Am Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Yishav Ribi, B'dairai, Kira Meir B'dairai. Rabbi Yishav Ribi in his dar was like Rabbi Meir in his dar, meaning he was the greatest of his dar. Meir Meir B'dairai Le'echlu Chaver Lamed Al Seif Daitei. Now the Gemara explains further. What does it mean? Just like Rabbi Meir, something that we've seen before, that the Talmidim were not able to fully grasp what Rabbi Meir said. They weren't able to fully understand what he said. The hearts of the original Talmidei Chachamim, the original Tanayim, were like the openings of a hallway, of an antechamber, just of the Eichel, 20 amos. Then it went down to 10 amos. And us, we're just left like the little needle hole in the top of the needle. Rishainim, what does it mean? Rishainim, Rav Akiva, first Rav Akiva. Rav Achrayim, what does that mean? Rav Laz ben Shamua. Igad Yamri, Rishainim is Rav Laz ben Shamua. Achrayim, Rav Shibrivi. V'anu k'malinekem machat sidkes. And all we are is just like the little needle opening. Amar Rabbi Evanan ki sichsa beguda legamara. Now, once we're, I don't want to say bashing ourselves, but once we're understanding our lowliness, the Gemara goes further and says Rav Yudah Merav, and says Abaye, I don't know where that came from, says Abaye, One more time, Banan ki sichsa beguda ligamara. What are we like? We're like a sichsa beguda. We're like a peg when it comes to Gemara, when it comes to comprehension. You have to force a peg in the hole. Nothing seemingly ever enters our brain. Amar Rava, and Rava says further, Banan. And what about us? We're like sticking a finger into kira, into wax, when it comes to svara reasoning. It's very difficult to push into wax. That's how difficult it is for us to understand svaras. Amar Ravashi comes from Ravashi and he says, like putting your finger into a pit, l'shicha, when it comes to forgetting. So they just finished saying that our comprehension is so terrible and our reasoning is so terrible. Comes Ravashi, but our forgetting, it's like sticking your finger into a big pit. It's very simple. Unfortunately, we forget very quickly, and of course, these Gemaras are not meant to give us yish, despair. Rather, they're meant to push us more. That if it's difficult for us, if we push more, then obviously we'll be able to understand. And as we'll see more, the Gemara is going to give us more tips how to understand the Gemara as we go along. Here's how the Gemara begins. The people of Yehuda, they were makbid, they were particular on their speech, as we'll see what that means. Niskaimu teirasam biyad, the Torah was fulfilled in their hands. B'nei Galil shleik b'dol l'sheinam, loy niskaimu teirasam biyadam. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? That has to do with if you care about what you say, that makes whether you're going to be able to understand your Torah or not. Ella, what does it mean? Says the Gemara, B'nei Yehuda, Didaiki Belishna, they're miduyak, they're very precise in their wording and their teaching when they learned. Umisnachlu simana, and they made simana, and they made signs when they learned. Niskaimu Tairasa B'yadam. B'nei Galil, Didaiki Belishna, Lamatchul simana, Le Niskaimu Tairasa B'yadam. B'nei Yehuda, now the Gemara goes further. B'nei Yehuda, Gamra Michad Rabba. They learned from one Rabbi. This guy with the Rasa B'yadam, it was clear. They learned straight from that Rabbi. They weren't any confusion. B'nei Galil, the Gamra Michad Rabba. B'nei Galil, the Loi Gamra Michad Rabba. They learn from one Rabbi. Learn from multiple Rabbi. What happens if you learn from multiple Rabbi? You get different opinions. It makes you confused. Learning this guy with the Rasa B'yadam. The Gemara continues. Ravina Amar, 4 lines to the bottom. B'nei Yehuda, the Galu Masechta, that they elucidated, it was clear to them the Masechta. But now the Gemara says further, David Amel Galu Masechta, he used to elucidate and make sure everything was very clear. Then Shaul Loi Galu Masechta, what happened? David the Galu Masechta, he was very clear. That David Amelech, you feared Hashem and you're going to rejoice that you knew all your Torah. Shaul the Loi Galu Masechta. What happens wherever you turn? There's wickedness, meaning he did not paskin correctly, as Rashi over here says, because it wasn't clear how he learned. We see how important it is to be perfectly clear and understand straight up, pashit, simple pshat, and of course, then obviously to build on that. Top line and Gimel base. Comes along and says, how do we know that Hashem forgave that sin? What's that sin? As Rashi and Tabir says, of that they killed out the whole city. Says tomorrow you're going to be with me. What's imi? Imi b'mechisasi, in my partition in Gan Eden. If there's someone the mashalu that can ask they're very precise in the words. I'm going to ask them. What am I going to ask them? Ma'avrin tanan. You just finished telling me B'nai Yehuda, these people were so wonderful, they were so clear. So let's ask them. What's our Mishnah? Akuzu tanan or Ikuzu tanan? Different Mishnah b'chayris. What's the proper wordage? Says the Gemara. Yadu sha'ilnu. So we're going to ask them. B'amri lei ikadetani. So I know they answered. They're very precise. You know they answered. Ikadetani ma'avrin with an aleph. Limbs. Ikadetani ma'avrin with an ayin. Ikadani akuzu with an aleph. Ikadani akuzu. They're very precise. They knew when to say that. It's no clarity. B'nai Yehuda, they're very precise in their language. Magi, what does that mean? That Hu Bar Yehuda, there was a certain person, Damar Lahu, that he said, he got up in public and he said, Talis yesh li limikar. I have a talis to sell. Amru lei, my gavan, what color is your talis? Talischa. Amru lahu, kitardin ali adama. You know the color? It's similar to the color of the beats of the ground. They were showing, they were so precise that they got the color down to the exact size, the exact color that it was. So now that we give the opposite examples, the B'nai Galil, they were not precise in their wording. The last narrow line, Ma'i, Netanya. Bar Galila, there was a certain person that because he was coming, and he said, Amar Leman. he came along and he said, Amar Laman, Amar Laman. Who is Amar? Who is Amar? And I wasn't sure. No one knew what he mean. Amrulay, they said to him, Galila Shaita. Galila Shaita. Sorry, Amrulay, Galila Shaita. You're foolish, you person from Galila. Chamar lemirkav. What are you referring to? Referring to a chamar to ride on? Or a chamar lemishti, or do you want beer? You're not being clear. Amar lemilbish, do you have one clothing to wear? Or imer liskasi, or do you want an imer, which is a sheep to slaughter? He wasn't clear with his wording, no one knew what he was talking about. The Gemara now says further, another example of someone who did not talk clearly. So there was a woman, the Baila Meimar, lechavrata. She wanted to tell her friend, can I come and give you some fat to eat? She wanted to give her something to eat. However, she didn't talk clearly. So what'd she say? Amr Allah, she said to her, Shaluchti tochlich labia. Shaluchti, a lion should eat you. Exact opposite. She wanted to offer this person food, and instead she gave the person a curse. Seemingly that's someone that you should have terrible calamity. Another story, Yitzhak Daslik made the Dayana. There was a woman that came in front of a judge. And what happened? Amr Lay. She said to the judge, Mari Kiri, that seemingly my master, Mari, Kiri, my slave, Tavla Habasli, I had a beam, and it was stolen from me. Ukadu Avas, and now where is it? The Chad Shadar Lachiluye, where they hang you on it. Where's the beam? They're going to hang you on it. Your feet are not going to reach the ground. Again, obviously, she didn't mean to tell the judge that you should be hung from the beam, but her wording wasn't clear, and it came out that you're going to be hung from this beam. Amasa, there was a certain maidservant today, Rabbi of the house of Rabbi. Now we're going to show the opposite extreme. We're going to show how to talk properly. She would talk in a lashon of chachma, of wisdom, which the Gemara is going to show is really in a lashon of a bit of a riddle, in order to hint things to the Talmidim and not talk straight out to them. Amra, she would say, Hachi, as follows: Alas nokvis bekad. The ladle hits the barrel. Yidun Israeli kineon. The eagle should fly to their nest. What exactly does that mean? That meant that the ladle's hitting the bottom of the barrel. There's no food left. Talmidim, fly to your nest. Go back, and nothing else to feed you. And then what would happen when she had more food? What would she say? The Kadave boy the lisvan. Other times when she wanted to stay at the table, she would say, Have Amr, she would say as follows, Lu. Yaidi basa chavrasa. Yaidi basa chavarta minei. A piece of her friend shall be removed, meaning a piece of one barrel should be removed for the other barrel to stop her. We're going to open up a new barrel of wine. Tells the biyama, and the ladle will float like the ship in the sea, referring to that we have a lot more wine to drink. Don't get up, I'm going to serve you another meal. Rav Yesi bar Asyan, the Gemara continues, Rav Yesi bar Asyan, when he would deal with Lashon Chachma, when he would talk in this hidden way, Amar, he would say as follows, Asli li sharba mishvat, Vitor miskain, prepare for me an ox in judgment on a poor mountain. Instead of just saying, give me beets with mustard, he would talk in this backwards type of way. But Kanav Eshal, Boshpiza, and whenever he would ask about the Ishpiza, the innkeeper, Amar Achi would say as follows, Gvar Poma Din Chai. The man of this house, is he alive? Mazu Tova Yish. What is going on with him? He would just ask what's going on with the person, but again he would ask this backward manner. The Gemara continues, Rav Avua, when he would talk in this way, Avi Amri would say as follows, he would say, make the coals like an aser. Oh, Baruch Hashem, again, we're starting to see the Siyat Ishmael. Talking about Esrogim. This is Thursday's daf, almost Arab Yantif. We're preparing our Esrogim. He would say, make the coals like an asrig. Make them to warm yourselves by them. Arkiul is havim. Spread out the golden ones. And make me 2 indicators in darkness, 2 different roosters you should cook for me. Some that say that what he meant 2 indicators in darkness, roast the roosters on the coals. Again, different types of these interesting lashonos. One more, the Gemara says, hide me. I'm sorry. Show me where Rabbi Illah is hiding. You didn't know where he was. So, where he's hiding, and he said, Allah's bin Nara Haroinis. He went up on a Nara, on a young woman, Haroinis of Haroin, Acharoinis, the latest one, Irunis, that she was very lively. He married to and she kept him awake, meaning that he's still sleeping. He got remarried. He was with his wife last night, and now he's sleeping it off. Amrulay, Isha, Amrulay Mesechta. Some say they're referring to a new wife, and some say referring to a new Mesechta. Lahavdil, someone gets a new book, he stays up the whole night. He had a new Masechta to learn. He couldn't go to sleep. Amrli the Rav Eloi said to Rav Eloi, now he says, tell me where Rav Avua is hiding. Amr Lahan, he took counsel from the one who crowns, and he went south to Miviboshes, meaning the Nasi let him go and learn from the Talmidei Chachamim in the south. Amr Rav Yeshua ben Chananya, Adam. My whole life, no one ever bested me in the wording game, aside for a woman, a child, and a young girl. I was staying over as a guest by someone. She made me some dish, some turnips, some beets. I ate the whole thing. Didn't leave over didn't leave over anything. The second day, the same thing, I ate it all up. It was too much salt. But now I'm stuck, because the past 2 days I ate it all. But I tasted it. And I pulled away my hand, I couldn't eat it. Amar Ali, she said to me, Rebbe, why are you not eating? I said to her, I already ate. So Amar Ali, and this was the example where she got the better of him, she said to him, Rebbe, I'm sorry, Amar Ali, why did we eat before? Amar Ali, and she continued, Rebbe, maybe you didn't leave over from the first ones, meaning if you're really just going to leave over, you should have left over from the serving plate, you should have left over from your plate. And obviously you just don't like the food. You don't leave over food in your plate. When you want to leave over food for the waiter, you leave it over from the serving dish. So it's clear that you just don't like the food. That was one case that woman got the better of him. Two more examples. And I was going by a field, and I was walking Amrli Tinaikis. Achas. Rabbi, is this not your field? Amarti la, kabushi. What do you mean? Everyone walks in this field. You see the paths all trodden. Amr Ali. So this girl said to him, no, what do you mean people walked in? Other robbers like you never walk through someone else's field. What are you doing? And obviously, she got the better of him. And the last case, and we'll finish with this. I saw a young boy standing on the crossroads. How do I get to the city? Amar Ali. Zuk Sara v'arucha. This is short and long. Arucha ksara. This is long and short. So what I do? Valachti b'ksara aruchas. I went to the long short one. Kivish I got to here. When I got to the city, was that Shem Kivan Isaganas of Ardison? I got to the city and I realized, I can't get into the city. I bumped into a bunch of orchards, bunch of trees. So Chazarti, I turned around. Amarti loy, and I bumped into the kiddush and I said, Bini, hello Amarti ksara. You told me it's short. Amar Li, so the kid responded, Did I also tell you it was long? The Shakti al Roisha, I kissed him on his head, Amarti Le, Shreichem Yisrael. You're all so smart. He was so happy that he saw that this kid spoke so nicely, and even though he got the better of him, he had to go all the way around.